John, it feels like the majority of the staffing industry is leaning more on AI and automation to really offload a lot of the key function of the sales process right now. In your mind, how do we bring the human element back into the sales process?
Well, when you say leaning on AI, here's the thing. People would love for the selling process or the selling life to be easy. I'm not sure that selling is necessarily for them if that's the case. I'm not saying that it has to be wildly difficult. However, selling is a very rare, very unique way of making a living because it is combination, practice, skill, personality, ability to listen, and ultimately humanity. People don't buy from companies. They buy from people. And what I see and what concerns me about leaning on AI is that the more AI is writing content or writing responses or setting up workflows for you, the more distanced you are from the key interaction, which is the humanity of what we do. As far as I'm concerned, Brad, it all starts with mindset. Who do we want to be perceived as? Who do we want people perceiving us to be? And how can we set ourselves apart from anybody else out there selling what we sell? I would love to set us apart from anybody selling anything. Let's focus on the fact that we live in a competitive environment. So the thing with AI, I'm not an expert. I have used it intermittently, and I'm nervous to use it because I don't want it to attempt to fabricate a personality that's like mine. I would rather that people see me warts and all, bald head and all, right?
Yeah.
So when I talk about mindset, selling goes on here, 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 and here. So this is the only one that's spelled differently, right? This is H-E-A-R. This is H-E-R-E, H-E-R-E. Why do I point to these two? Well, because the humanity of what we do, because we're in the human business, we're in the staffing business. What we're doing is we're making marriages that we hope are going to work
Right.
and that will stick, right? To me, the mindset starts with 3 words. The 3 words are authentic, transparent, unapologetic. One of the things about sales is that it is a daily risk. We're doing what one of my favorite writers said. He was asked, what role does risk play in your life? And he said, every day I jump off a cliff and I build my wings on the way down. This is Ray Bradbury, author of, I'm sorry?
I was going to say, who said that?
Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. He wrote the Martian Chronicles. And please interrupt me because once I get going, Brad, I'm just going to go.
You're on a good wave, my friend. No, you're on a good wave. Keep going.
Okay. So authentic, transparent, unapologetic. The danger in having some tool craft your messages is that should you ever meet this person live and in person, or you do a Zoom with them, you don't want there to be a disconnect between who you are, how you think, whether or not you listen, and what language comes out of your mouth. And when we're talking about language, I'm not talking about appropriate or inappropriate. I'm talking about the wonder and the joy of crafting language that is precise and moves conversations forward. There's a very big difference between trying to lean in or force or drive a conversation forward and moving it forward.
How does one bring their authentic self to the sales process?
Well, first and foremost, we ask the question, how do I want to be perceived? And one exercise that I've done with a lot of different groups and many of them in the staffing world is I say, okay, I want you to think about who you have had the most fun and generated the most profit from working with. And I want you to create an image in your mind of who those people are. Then I want you to write down somewhere between 15 and 20 words, individual words that describe those people, not you and not what the deal was, but who are they, right? With the marketing that you guys do at Haley, come on, you know what an ideal client profile is. This is a little different. This is really the humanity of it, the personality of it. And what I ask them to do once they're at about 15 words is that I want them to do the Steve Jobs thing. Okay, now that we have 15, let's cut that down to 10. Now that we have 10, let's cut it down to 5. And when we cut those cut our profile down to 5 words, not hyphenates, not lengthy descriptions, individual words that describe those people, those 5 words now, that's our template that says, do the people that I'm selling to now, do they add up to 3, 4, or 5 of these words? Because who we do business with is kind of a reflection of who we are, right? My 5 words of who I choose to do business with are funny, smart, visionary, authentic, and hungry. Now, I've worked with companies that are very successful already. You know, you've seen me out there. If they're not still hungry, we don't really have a lot to talk about. So selling goes on here and here because it is a very emotional thing. It goes on here. How well are we listening? And it goes on here. What's the precise language that will determine between you and I whether or not we are the right people to work together? One of the things your questions that you sent to me prior to made me think of was the back of my business card. And I know that you and a couple of the people at Haley have gotten hold of it's upside down, hold of my business card over the years at different staffing events. And I'm happy to send one to anybody that wants to email me, and you'll give them the information. But every day I have these aspirations. And the first one, which is on the back of my business card, is negotiate as if you do not need the deal. That's not easy. How do you bring your authentic self to selling was your original question. Well, we have to determine how we want to be perceived and who we choose to do business with. So authentic, transparent, we never allude to, hint at, or say out loud, I'm not here to sell you anything, because that's disingenuous. Let's put it in the New York vernacular. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to start a relationship with a lie. And then unapologetic, because we are risk takers, I am never going to apologize for calling on someone or reminding them that we're out here or suggesting that maybe we might be able to help them. So the key to me, the distinction is that I want to prompt them to invite me to the next step, as opposed to me asking for permission to go to the next step. And that's a fine line distinction that comes from precision of language.
Walk us through that. How do we get to that point?
Well, I think it's first and foremost is that anytime we hear ourselves asking a closed-ended question, meaning it can be answered with a yes or a no, we stop and rephrase the question in real time. Like, Brad, are you the kind of guy, well, how do you make choices about where to take the family on the weekend? I can be in the middle of a question, but because the question is about you, I've set the hook. I've got you interested. So how do we make that transition? Well, who, what, when, where, why, how, or which? Those are the shining stars in the constellation of what's the best way to ask a question that will move the conversation forward, not force it, not drag it, not feel as though I'm asking for permission. And the thing is that the difference between permission and invitation is the direction of the energetic arrow. Because anytime you and I are in a selling conversation, the energy is moving either toward you or away from you.
Yep.
And I would rather the energy is moving toward me because you have invited me, as opposed to you gave me permission. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm still thinking about the sales rep who might not have it 100%. So if I have my call script and I have my way of sort of doing things, how do I flip that to where now the prospect is inviting me to have that follow-up conversation? So that it's not, hey, John, if you feel like moving forward with this, can we set a time to chat next week, where I'm asking you, right? How do we then flip that mentality, flip that logic to, I have you hooked so well that you're asking me for the next call? Because that's where I think we need to go.
Let's take a look at what you just said. Can we, yes or no, talk about this again next week? Well, that's your timeline, not mine.
Right.
So how do we flip that? Well, first and foremost, I know a lot of people will be horrified by this. I'm not a big fan of scripts, because I will tell you, over the years that I've been selling and the innumerable scripts that I've written, hoping that they would work. I have yet to find a single prospect who will show up at a meeting with their copy of my script. They are thinking about themselves, their business, their issues, and their opportunities. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
Themselves, their business, their issues, and their opportunities. You and I have heard a whole bunch of people in the staffing world talk about selling.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hear the word problem or pain one more time, I think my head will explode. Because if you've ever experienced pain, why would I want you to revisit that with me?
Right.
Why would you want to share it?
That is very much why people don't want to work with staffing firms, right? I have said on this show multiple times that I think it's the number one industry where if you have a negative experience, you completely run away, right, John? If you go out and you have a bad steak this weekend, it's not that you're never going to have another steak again. Or if you take a bad trip and all of a sudden that hotel is lousy, that you're not going to take another vacation and try a different one. But I think it's up there as maybe I think it's the leading industry where if you have a bad experience with a recruiter, you'll never work with another one.
And here's the thing. It's on both sides. I have friends who have, moved through the executive ranks over the years that we've known each other. And they're like, I will not talk to a recruiter. No, wait a minute. You're missing. Well, you know what? Here's who they are. We can't, how do we work through that? I was going to say battle, but I don't want it to be a battle.
Right.
How do we work through that? Well, to me, it's all about the direction of the energetic arrow. When I am in conversation with a prospect, my focus is on them and their future, not me and what I sell. Because if the focus is on me and what I sell, hey, I have these great people and you really could use them. Number one, you started with talking about yourself.
Right.
Number two, you didn't engage or involve me.
Right.
And number three, you missed something that in my world, in my view, is tantamount to what it means to be a professional seller. And what it means to be a professional seller is that I lead with curiosity and I back that up with technique.
Yeah. What I love there, a lot there. Leading with curiosity. I had Casey Jaycox on the show a little while ago, and one of his whole mottos is to always be curious, be obsessively curious. And I think the challenge with the industry is that when we're living in an industry that's been down now for almost 4 years, and ASA projected that we were going to be up this year, but it's not. I was just at Staffing World a couple months ago at time of recording this month, but this will drop in a little bit. And we're targeting another down year. We sort of lose that curiosity in the sense of, I just need the sale now. And my livelihood depends on the sale now. And I think what happens then, John, is we lose the best practices of, yes, I agree with everything we're saying right now in being curious. Don't look for the close. Stay humble in the sense of, if I don't get the close, that's okay. Be curious. But again, I got bills to pay this month and I got to close this thing. So how do we stay in a sales environment that is curious, is about the prospect, is about their needs, when we know we're sort of grasping for air and we're trying to get any deal that we can?
Well, here's the thing. Just about anybody can smell fear. Right?
Yeah.
And
right.
Salespeople, when it's quota time, we emit it and we don't even realize it, right?
Yeah.
And
over Zoom.
We want to make sure we don't have commission breath. I heard that phrase a couple of years ago, and that just knocked me over. Commission breath. Oh, yuck, right? So here's what I have found. Listen, it's very easy to joke about. I've been selling professionally, meaning this is what I do. This is what I'm committed to. I've been selling professionally for 35 years. And I will tell you that the times that I say, I can't change what has happened yesterday. I can only control what I do today and must maintain a vision for tomorrow. Then all of a sudden, I'm relieved of, okay, I may close someone today. I may not. However, When I take the long-term view, and one of my, I guess, metaphors for it is, if you're standing on the beach and you're looking across the ocean and you can see the horizon, tilt your telescope up 3 degrees. When you tilt it up 3 degrees, you look out to infinity. Well, I need to pay bills today. Understood. But if this is how you are closed, even look at the body language, right?
I know. Yeah.
I am going to open up and I'm going to keep looking at the future, because whatever I have built or focused toward today, that energy is gone. That song is over. Now it's time to go to a new town. The way to do it is to say, the things that I am consciously putting energy behind today are going to bear fruit. Today, tomorrow, next week, maybe. And I'll tell you, Brad, the times when things have been tight for me, the 28 years in private practice, I've had some tight times. When I can release I need to get it done today and focus on the long term and maintain my activity, that's a key thing. Sitting and looking out the window and hoping it's going to work, probably not the best strategy, right? I think there's a book called Hope is Not an Action Plan. The maintaining activity, whether that activity has been designed by AI or not, whether that activity is sending out 35 emails that have been perfectly crafted by AI or not, I still have to be the one to determine who to send it to, what my next follow-up step is, and what period of time I am comfortable allowing to pass between first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Because the numbers today better than me, but years ago, it was 80% of salespeople will stop calling on someone after the third attempt, and 90% of sales occur after the fifth.
I think it's more than that. So I've been saying lately, the data that we saw is it takes anywhere from 17 to 20 touches to know that you fundamentally exist. Not even to get the conversation, just to know you exist. And then our chief strategy officer, Brad Smith, was at a networking group of like-minded marketers, and somebody at the table said it was 70 touches. And on top of that, we know it takes, 90% of sales reps give up at the fourth attempt. So mathematically, we're wondering why we can't close. We wonder why we can't get the conversation. We're giving up at the fourth try. We're not having enough at-bats. We're just not getting enough swings at the plate.
Well, I'll jump on the language again, because I'm a language fanatic.
Yeah.
If it's a try, then you're not committed.
Correct.
If it's an action, and here are the 150 prospects that I will call on, and they will not go more than 3 business days without hearing from me all year. Wow, I can't wait all year to close the deal. That's not what we said. What we said was, you need to be in front of them in excess of 20 times for them to even be aware of the fact that you exist. Forget about the distinguishing characteristics. Forget about the humanity of the conversation. Forget about authentic, transparent, and unapologetic. And I will tell you that the people that make the transformation in the staffing industry that I've worked with over the years are the ones that move away from, we know what's going on in your business. When they move away from that and they lead with curiosity and say, so how are you dealing with what's going on in your industry today?
Yeah.
How has that impacted who you're hiring? Because what have we just done there? We've changed it from a selling conversation, I have people and you should use me, to a business conversation.
Right.
It's about what's going on in their industry, but how things are impacting them. The most common word in the English language that begins sentences is I. And the bad news is, the third time we begin a sentence with I, our listener mentally checks out. I challenge people all the time. I want you to, after we've spoken, after you've heard me speak, after you've read my book, I want you to go and look at the last 15 emails that you composed like Mozart How many sentences begin with I? Because that's not about the reader. That's about the writer. And the selling language is written, email, text, right? Posts on LinkedIn, and the live conversation. Which to me even comes down to audio messages on LinkedIn, or in the olden days, people actually listened to voicemails that were left for them. I don't know that anybody listens to voicemail.
I read the transcript of them at this point.
There we go. See,
I'm not gonna listen to it. I will say though, I ran a little bit of a test last quarter to try to get some people to reach back out to me, and I used video on LinkedIn and LinkedIn Message, and just shot people, current clients, people that know who I am. Was in an interesting period, John, where I couldn't get people to talk to me, and these weren't prospects, these weren't cold leads. I think the industry was just busy, and that's okay, right? This isn't a cry for help, but I just was struggling to get people on the phone. So I took a different approach and I said, okay, I'm going to try LinkedIn video. I'm going to send John a quick message and say, hey, John, I'm looking just to have 7 to 10 minutes of your time just to learn how business is going. Very, very basic. And I articulated it a little better in the video.
Okay. No, yeah.
But from there, I saw a better success rate when using LinkedIn video to communicate as the entry point than just doing a cold email or a phone call.
Hey, it's Brad taking a short break to tell you about an offer exclusive to listeners of Take the Stage. 30 minutes of strategic marketing consultation with me, completely free. Hey, whether you're looking to drive more sales or more job applications, I want to help. Visit bit.ly/stage offer. Pick a time that works best for you. That's it. Again, whether you want to drive more applications or more job orders, I want to help. That's bit.ly/stage offer. All right, let's get back to the show.
Well, I will make a mental note of that, because I like video. I have a couple of series that I run on Vimeo and OTT channel where people subscribe, and it's a lot like, I guess it's kind of like Instagram, where it's a minute, 2-minute messages, right? And they're all that kind of thing. So I don't know that video is as unique as it used to be. However, the fact that you will take the time to record one just for me and mention my name in it, how about that? That's authentic. It's transparent. It's unapologetic. And what I would, my refinement of your message would be, how open would you be to you and I spending 7 to 11 minutes together? Because when you ask the question, how open, it's not like, can we? How open would you be? Well, I might be open to it. And then what we do is what I call positive pattern interruption, because everybody wants 15 minutes, but they mean 30. Everyone wants 30 minutes, but they mean 45. So I will say 7 to 11 or 13 to 21. And the people that I end up doing business with, and then we have a lot of laughs together, they'll respond with, well, I can't do 17 to 21, but I can do 33. Done. I'm in.
Perfect. Sign me up.
When can we do it? Here's the link.
Yeah, I think anything you could do to disrupt is critical, right? So it's taking a different approach to a sales process that is becoming a little stale, a little dormant, a little robotic. And when you have and I call it personalized automation, there's obviously things that you can do to automate videos that, I can say John, or I can say Carol, or whatever it might be. There's more than enough AI tools out there right now to make that increasingly, I'm going to call it humanized. But I think when we personalize that automation, that's where we start to see success. Or if you're just having the courage and the time to film it yourself, I think you see some success that way too. That struck you.
Listen, showing up requires some courage. Stepping out and making any attempt to communicate with other people with the ultimate goal of, determining whether or not they might buy from us. That's very different from, I'm calling them and I'm going to close them. Okay, you're going to be disappointed. How about you work through the process and you have the courage to say, I'm not going to do business with all of these people ever. However, if I have a defined market and I'm at this 18th touch, and I'm doing it because that's my process, not because I'm hoping to God that they'll buy from me, right? Then we don't have commission breath when we show up in front of them.
You're touching on two I guess, mottos that I live by. One, keep showing up, and two, honor your commitments. I've talked on this show quite a bit. I've sort of fallen into being a runner over here, John. I ran my first marathon in May. Coming out of October, I ran 2 half marathons in October. And I'm a big supporter of Nick Bare and everything that he does. And one of his big mentalities is to honor your commitments. If you say you're going to do something, you show up and you do it. And you put in the work that gives you a fighting chance to show up in the best shape that you want to be showing up in. And I think as I bring myself to the show and I bring the things that I'm learning and the journey that I'm on to the show, I mean, I think that is 100% true for running 26 miles as it is for making 26 touches with a prospect. You have to keep showing up. You have to honor your commitments. You have to make sure you're being your best authentic self. Otherwise, the tape and the numbers don't lie. And you either get to the finish line or you don't. And we all somehow get to the finish line. We'll all make it. But in what shape and at what expense? And is it exactly how you want to show up and how you want to be on race day?
And so when you do a race, the date of that race is announced in advance, right?
Correct. So the race that I ran at time of recording 2 days ago, I've known about for about 6 months.
Okay. So you knew the date and you knew the start time, right?
Correct.
So you knew what you needed to do to get there so that you could participate, right?
Yes.
Sounds like you invest time in preparation.
From a running perspective, I think the training and the prep is more of the actual event than the actual running of the race. Yes. There's so much time. There is no success without preparation. There is no success without preparation when it comes to running, in my mind. I did well this last weekend, 2 half marathons ago. I set a PR. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 ago. You need to show up on those days where it's dark and it's cold and it's raining in Buffalo and no one's watching you, right? It's easy to run around a track when at every mile there's hydration stations and people are cheering for friends and family and you see the crowd. But John, it's a different, and again, we can relate this to sales. It's different when it's 5 a.m. in the morning. It's 5 a.m. It's cold. It's snowing. You got 3 layers of pants on, and you know that if you don't go out and run right now, you're not going to be able to run in March or April. And that I think translates really well to the sales process, right? Am I putting in the work to get to know my prospect, to have the right questions, to have the right conversation, to be curious so that I can show up for this call in the best authentic version of myself for the call?
So a couple of things there, and I baited you.
I appreciate that.
With my questions.
Okay.
Number one, the end of the month comes with great advance notice, as does the end of the quarter. So people showing up 5 days before the end of the month saying, "Oh my God, I don't think I'm going to make my quota." Did it just occur to you?
Yeah.
Because it's been out there for a while. That's number one. Number two, years ago, I had a client out of Omaha, Nebraska, who had gone to Stanford on a full ride as a pitcher. From there, he was recruited and went to play for the Milwaukee Brewers for 3 years. And it was 3 years because at the beginning of the 4th year, he said, they pulled me aside and said, "You can't play anymore." And he said, and they were right. And during that time, he had built relationships with our friends at ESPN. Now, if you know anything about baseball, and I am not a baseball fan, however, this was a great connect. And there's a point to this story. He lives in Omaha. He had played professional ball, made friends with a lot of people at ESPN. Well, guess what? The College World Series is held in Omaha, Nebraska. And they let him do a sideline interview with one of the coaches once, and it went extremely well. Well, now, and for the last, 12 years, he's done color for every SEC ball game on ESPN. His name's Kyle Peterson. Why do I bring that up? Well, because he was calling the College World Series about 8 years ago. And our fun together was that I would text him ridiculous things to say on air. Now, he had about 8 or 9 guys that would do it. One of them sent him gingivitis. See if you can figure out how to get gingivitis into your on-air call. Yeah. And he did it, right? So mine, of course, was a little more serious, but the fact that he said it on air, I was bouncing around my living room. It was fantastic. And here's what I said. And here's why this is important to your story and to selling in the staffing world or any world. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes prepared. I
like
would
that.
rather be prepared for a sales conversation than feel as though I'm hoping it will go perfectly.
I mean, perfect is a fairy tale, right? I was actually just talking to Tyler here. I record at a local recording studio, and we were talking about somebody that we like over here. And his whole motto is progress, not perfection. Right? We're constantly chasing progress, not perfection. I actually had my wife cricket it on a shirt for me, and I wear it when I run quite a bit. Perfect is a fairy tale. There is no such thing as perfect. We can have good days. We can have good months. Heck, we might even have a good quarter. But there are things that slip up along the way. But if I, at the end of a quarter, at the end of a year, I can look back and say, wow, look at all the progress I made. That's what I'm chasing.
That was behind the mentality of the phrase moving conversations forward. I was leading a sales team. I had one of my people come to me and say, I talked to this person again and again, just can't seem to push them over the fence. I said, that's not what we're here to do. All we're here to do is move conversations forward. And the whole room stopped, and I ran to my desk and I wrote it down. And I put TM with, trademark next to it. And that led to the publication of my first and second and third and fifth book and all that stuff. So as I'm sure you can tell, I can go on and on.
Yeah. I like the thought of brilliance coming at random times too. I think that's very interesting. You never really know when you're going to hit that stroke of brilliance, but to have it in a conversation, run your desk, write it down, and then turn it into what had then become books and literature and talks and things like that. I certainly love. John, before I let you go, I do want to give you the floor to talk a little bit about yourself and talk a little bit about the books that you've written.
Which one?
Well, we were trying to go down the path of not selling like a jerk, but I'll give you the floor to talk about any of them if you want.
Well, okay, then people are going, hopefully this will be of interest to people because I lead with curiosity and back it up with technique, because the driving fuel for my life is creativity between music and speaking and writing and performing and producing and recording and all that stuff. My next book is called Open the Valve: The New Path to Creative Play. It will be published in English and Spanish simultaneously. And this is about leading with curiosity, using curiosity as our compass, and staying grounded in gratitude. I think that most of us humans have great access to creativity. And we started this conversation with me saying it's all about the mindset. Mindset was almost the title of this book until I found out that there's about 11 books out there with that word in the title.
I bet, yeah.
And what we do in this book is we walk through 6 crucial components to the creative life: thought, speech, action, creativity, rest, and risk. As a creative, I'm curious, which of those resonates with you most specifically?
I was going to ask you what rest means to you.
Rest means powering down, honoring the fact that my body cannot operate at optimum level 100% of the time. Correct. It means no electronic communication, and it does not only mean sleep. I think the great American lie is that we should find work-life balance. Well, with that is that in my years, I've yet to participate in anything with other people where it's perfectly balanced. What I'm more interested in, and this comes from my musical background, I'm much more interested in harmony.
Absolutely.
When I find harmony, when I maintain harmony between my work and my life, I wake up on a Monday morning with a big smile on my face because I'm ready. Rest is of critical import to me.
I agree. I actually couldn't agree more. John, if people want to get a hold of you, where can they go?
Email me. Simple and straightforward. John@Klymshyn.com. I'm sure you'll help them spell it correctly.
We will. We'll put it in the show notes. And before I let you go, I got to run you through our rapid fire round. I'm going to say it this way specifically. Outside of the books that you've written, what is one book that's fundamentally changed your life?
It's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. What he did was he introduced me to a concept called resistance. And resistance is, yes, I want to do creative work and I'll get around to it eventually. One of the great quotes that I memorized out of that book is, of course I'm going to write my great symphony. I'm just going to do it tomorrow.
What's that mean to you?
It means if you consider yourself to be a creative person, and we talk about this extensively in here, writer's block is a myth. It's a construct. It's basically us lying to ourselves. You're a writer? Great. What have you written? Well, I want to write. Okay. Why are we talking about it? That's what I mean by unapologetic. Over the years, my first book was published 22 years ago. And ever since, when I'm signing books at events, people come up and say, I've always wanted to write a book. And my response is, and? Where's your outline? Where's your idea? Where's your first 100 pages? Writers write. Musicians play.
I'm with you. You need the practice reps, and you need to have the environment that enables you to be creative. You need to have that space that is sacred to you where you can do the things that you want to do.
Yes.
I think having, I come to a studio to track these episodes that I'm very lasered in and focused on exactly what it is that we're going to do here for the next couple of hours, specifically today, a couple of days this week. It is what it is. That's where I'm most productive as it relates to the show. But best ideas for the show could come at any time. But having that creative space, right? You said writers write, players play. It's just having the practice reps that say, listen, if you want to be a writer, do it. What's holding you back? And if you want to be good at sales, good. Put in the work, put in the time.
That's it. Put in the reps.
Exactly right.
No one closes every deal. And here's another little piece of wisdom. Outside of the staffing world, I do a lot of work in the tech community, and we can go into detail that later. I work with cats that sell significantly sized deals. And I said to one of them once, about 2 years ago, I said, we don't get paid for the deals that we close. We get paid for every deal in between that does not come to fruition. We get paid for all of that sweat, all of that effort, all of that hope, all of that expectation, because experienced salespeople know that the thrill is in the chase. Getting the contract is cool. Even getting paid. Yeah, that's great. The fun, the excitement, the thrill is the pursuit.
That's what I said about the marathon prep, right? I mean, I went through, I'll say this really quickly. Coming out of the marathon that I ran, I had Declan Edwards on the show, who is a happiness researcher out of the UK. And I was talking to him, and I was being very honest in the conversation. I think it's one of the best shows that we've had, in the sense of, after preparing for a marathon for 10 months, I crossed the finish line, and the day after, I felt like a piece of me was gone and broken. Like, who I was no longer existed, because I formed such an identity in the prep that actually completing the thing, I wasn't all that excited about it. I loved the prep. I loved the journey. And it's interesting, John, when we get into this hedonic treadmill of I'll be happy when, sort of I'm chasing. I love the hunt, but we need to learn how to celebrate the wins too. And luckily he was able to walk me through that a little bit. And we use the show as a therapy session over here. But it's very interesting,
man. You deserved it.
Yeah, exactly right. I had him on at the right time in my life. I'll tell you that. John, before I let you go, one more question for you. Somebody that's just getting started in sales in the staffing and recruiting industry, what are you going to tell them?
Look at it as though you have just been handed a set of golf clubs and you have a 5-year goal of showing up at the Masters. Now walk me backwards. Walk me through what the next 5 years will look like. What will the 2 months before that appearance, what will you be doing? How will you be spending the time? Now go 6 months back. Now go a year back. Now go 2 years back. Who is it? Dale Carnegie or Chris Rock? I don't know who said it. Begin with the end in mind. Where are you headed? Well, I don't know if I'm going to stay with it. Okay, then please go do something else.
I love that advice. I like the analogy. I wish I was more of a golfer over here. I used to be. It's just not my thing anymore.
I haven't played golf in 15 years, but I
love the analogy though. If you know in 5 years you want to tee off at Augusta, what's it going to take to get there? And putting in the work today matters for 5 years from now. And I think too often, you alluded to it a little while ago, we forget that the end of the quarter is coming. We know the end of October is coming. We know the date. We know when the month's going to end. We know when the sales cycle is going to end. We know when commissions are going to close, right? We know that date, but you can't 3 days from the end say, oh, what happened? How did I get here? Because you're not putting in the work ahead of time. So I love the analogy, John. I appreciate you there.
I got one more for you.
Please.
Famous violinist, had played everywhere that great violinists play, was being interviewed. And he was very late in life, and he still practiced 5 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And he was asked, why do you practice for 5 hours a day? And he moved like this, and he said, because I feel like I'm making progress.
John Klymshyn. I'm going to leave you with that one. John, thanks so much for coming on the show, buddy. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.